Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, I would like to invite you all to the second leg of today's conference. Now, we will leave the floor to Dr. Imran Osmani to talk about distribution of wealth in Islam and haram transactions. The floor is yours, Dr. Imran.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. The first of our presentation is about the introduction to Islamic banking and finance. This, my presentation, inshallah, will cover the following things. Number one, Islamic's view and savings and wealth. Yani, it will cover the basic concept of saving money and about the wealth, that what should be the distribution of wealth and who should be owner of the wealth and how should we use that particular wealth. And then it will cover, inshallah, importance of banking, why banking is important, and then why Islamic banking, and worldwide position, world economic history, what distinguishes Islamic banking from conventional banking, Islamic banking today, and the way forward. As you already know that there is a hadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that talabu kasabil halali faridatun min ba'd al-fara'is, that searching of halal income is mandatory after the other mandates. So as there are some other mandates like first like prayers, fasting in Ramadan. So after these things, to earn money for their livelihood is also mandatory. It's also obligatory. Secondly, what should be the purpose of earning money? We should always remember that there are some ahadith and some Quranic verses say that the money is fitna or enemy for you. It's not good for you. It's bad thing. While on the other hand, some verses and ahadith saying that mal or money is blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my grandfather has written in his book that it looks a contradiction and conflict, that once it is said that it is a bad thing, once it is said it is a good thing. So how it is good and bad together? So he says that if two things are there, then that bad thing will become a good thing. What these two things are? The first thing is the objective, the intention, niyat. If your niyat, your intention to make money is that you want to serve your needs, your needs of your people who are dependent upon you, like your family, your wife, your parents, and those who are deserving, and you are obligated to pay those deserving and needy people also. So because of that reason, you are making money. You are earning money. So it is first thing. The second thing, the first thing is niyat, that particular niyat or that particular objective and intention. The second thing is that you have the way of making money. If your way of making money is also halal, then this particular money made by you, it would become fazl, blessing of Allah. It will become a good for you. But if that money is made without any intention of serving people and to seek the pleasure of Almighty Allah, because of the rules Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned about to fulfill the needs of the needy people, and the way you are doing is not right, you are making money through impure or impermissible ways, then it would become haram. It would become a bad thing. So the money can be good and can be bad. So making money, if with the right intention and with the right ways, is permissible, rather it is rewardable. But making money through bad intention and with wrong transaction or wrong way will be even sinful act. Like, for example, through making money through bribe, through corruption, through khiyana, through interest, through gambling, through different other things like speculative transactions. So these are not right. So I have already mentioned that the searching halal for halal income is mandatory after the mandates. Another thing, the people ask that, what about the saving? Whether the people should make savings of their money or not. Savings is allowed or not. So there is a hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ that Hazrat Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet ﷺ has advised for wealth to be saved for one's dependents and not to be squandered away. Hadith by Hazrat Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. The Prophet ﷺ came visiting me while I was sick in Makkah. I said, O Allah's Apostle, Prophet, may I will all my property in charity? He said, no. He said, no. I said, then may I will half of it? He said, no. I said, 1/3? He said, yes. 1/3, yet even 1/3 is too much. It's better for you to leave your inheritors wealthy than to leave them poor and begging others. انتظر ورثتك أغنياء خير من أن تذرهم عالة يتكففون الناس. If you leave your heirs behind you wealthy, it's far better than leaving them needy and abundant, dependent on others. So it's a very important rule that we have to save money for our heirs, for our dependents. The Prophet ﷺ has liked the righteous man to be wealthy. The Prophet ﷺ prayed for Hazrat Anas radiallahu anhu, O Allah, increase his wealth and family and give it blessing or barakah. From the above, we can see that the wealth is not an evil thing. Islamic Bank supports depositors to keep and invest saving confidently. Basically, once, for example, you save So either you can save in your house or you keep your money idle without doing any tijarat on that. But it's not good. Always you should use your money fit tijara, in business, so that it will increase. So there are certain ahadith in which it is told that if you have a money of, for example, orphan, so don't leave it unearned, so that otherwise it will be finished by paying off each year zakat and sadaqat. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ has emphasized that you should not keep your money idle, either to invest somewhere or you do tijara with that. Now we come to the other point, that what is the importance of the normal banking things. Banking is the most important sector of the modern day economy. It provides an opportunity to the thousands with surplus capital to select the best mix of investment in terms of return and tenure and security. It provides an opportunity to business and governments to finance their activities through obtaining surplus fund. That, for example, if there are some individuals, they have their savings in their home, but they do not collect their money into one fund or one bank or one pool, so they cannot do big projects. Big projects could be financed once the saving of people are together. So it is very much important to have the saving. But you know that the commercial banks have the commercial interest, which is not lawful or Sharia permissible. So therefore, what is the alternate? Alternate is Islamic banking. Why? Because if we do by the commercial bank, so we will make impure or non-halal income. And there is hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ that say that ayyuma jasadin nubita min suht fannaru awla bih. The body which is nourished by non-pure sources is bound to hellfire. So if, for example, if we eat haram or impure, so then Holy Prophet said that that particular body which grew or grows with that particular food you have eaten, haram, so that should be entitled to go to hell. Alayyazu billah. And in another hadith, on the day of judgment, a person will not be moved from the place where he stands until he is asked about the sources of his income and the ways he spent it. So it's the first question in the days of Akhirah, that how you make your money and where you use that money. And purifying the source of one's nourishment is one of the important reasons for the acceptance of supplication by Allah. There is hadith, mashhur, very common hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that many people are raising their hands in their dua, their supplication. But how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept their supplication while their eating is from haram resources, their dressing from haram resources, their wearing is from haram resources. So it is important to make halal. Why riba is prohibited? Number one thing is that, if there is one thing has been ordered or commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it is prohibited, that we have to follow that. We don't have any right to ask rationale behind that. What is the rationale? Why it is, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was told to sacrifice Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. He didn't ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why I will do so. So, in the commandments, there is no why, no question mark. But still, if there are researchers who have researched and they found that the key objective of the prohibition of riba is that it causes social justice. Yani, riba causes social injustice, but Islamic banking causes social justice. Secondly, and economic justice cannot be achieved until we avoid riba and other impermissible activities. Economic justice requires a viable economic system supported by an efficient banking system. But, I'm saying that why it is better for the economy. What is the bad thing? We do research sometimes. We use our mind for using different results and to see that this way is good or that way is good. That is why, for example, in UK, in some places, they started like what's called ethical banking. And they are using these ethical banking, and they invented by their minds, by their own intellect, that this way might be good. Previously, why, socialism and communism came? Because they thought that capitalism is very, very unuseful and not useful and very bad for the human being. That's why they introduced socialism and communism. So now people basically trying by their mind to experiment new models. But once we have a particular model provided by our Holy Prophet ﷺ, who was basically Ummi. Ummi means illiterate. But we know that very specific and very sophisticated guidelines has been provided by the Holy Prophet ﷺ, which a layman usually cannot provide. What does it mean? It means that it is revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once it is proven, then we can see that if we, for example, follow those guidelines, it would become very much useful for the whole humanity. There is a verse of the Holy Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Our Holy Prophet ﷺ was the blessing for all humanity. So, for example, if we follow these rules and regulation, even we don't say the word of Islam or Islamic or something like that, but we follow these regulation, so it will be very much useful for the whole economy. Because our experiments based on our own knowledge or our own research or our own minds or intellect may be failed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is beyond this wall. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can see the everything what's going in future and what could be wrong. So He has given a guideline that you should do that thing, you should not do that thing. So if we follow that thing, so it will be certainly very useful. So one thing is that the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the Holy Quran mentioned that كَيْ لَا يَكُرَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ, that the whole wealth should not be concentrated in very few hands. So it's not right. It may be that All people are not equal. And even Islam does not say that all people are 100% equal. نحن قسمنا بينهم معيشتهم في الحياة الدنيا ورفعنا بعضهم فوق بعض درجات. So it means that there should be some people upon other people in the wealth, in the honor, in the dignity, so far. Otherwise, if there is no any distinction and everybody is totally equal, no one will command on the others. So on the rule of discipline, it is necessary that a person should be higher and one should be junior. But for this purpose, it doesn't mean that all wealth should go to very few hands and all majority of the people become very needy and very poor. So if we do these interest-based transaction and we do not follow the laws of Sharia, so then it basically becomes a zari'ah or source to make very few people very wealthy and remaining very poor. What is the distinguishing feature in Islamic bank and conventional bank? First of all, I would say that there is one verse of the Holy Prophet ﷺ that أَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى, that says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed trade but prohibited riba. So it means that all types of trade is allowed, but riba is not allowed. And there is another Holy Quran, verse of the Holy Quran, which says that إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسُرُ وَالْأَصْحَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ, that to play gambling is also, which is qimar or maisir, it is not allowed by Sharia. So gambling is not just only in casinos. Gambling or that speculative transactions are even in banks, in their treasury departments, even in the stock exchanges, in their commodity exchanges, they do speculative transactions. So it is not allowed. The third thing which is not allowed by hadith, which is called gharar. Gharar means uncertainty. Which type of uncertainty? That leads to any dispute. That leads to any dispute between the parties. For example, if we are selling a thing, the subject matter is not quantified, not identified. It is uncertain. So the buyer would choose the high quality one. The seller say, no, you should pick the not higher quality, that thing. So there would be a dispute. So anything which is disputable and not clean and clear and transparent in their contracts, it's called gharar. It's called gharar. Okay? So that thing is also not allowed. So riba, what is riba? Riba is any excess on principal in loan. Kullu qardi jarrafan fahu riba. So any loan transaction, if you gave advance 100 lira or $100 and you require the others to give you 110, so this excess of 10 is interest. So no matter why he has borrowed that money, for consumption, for commercial usage, for industrial usage, no matter. Kullu qardin, any type of loan which requires any profit, whether you call it profit or call it markup or call it rental, whatever you name it, will be considered as riba, as interest. Similarly, sale of debt is also not allowed by Sharia. Fuqaha has mentioned that it has gharar. Future sale, forward sale, sale without possession or risk, bay' qabl al-qabs, bay' al-ma'doom, or bay'u ribhu ma lam yadman. These have been mentioned in the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So these are not allowed. Sale without ownership, short sale. Sale of unspecified goods or assets, it's gharar, as I mentioned to you. Bonds, it's basically sale of debt. And you know, bonds also has two things which are wrong. Number one, sale of debt. Debt cannot be sold. It just could be assigned, but at par. Debt cannot be sold. And inshallah, further it should be elaborated when inshallah we will discuss about riba. So debt cannot be sold. Secondly, it incurs associated with it some interest. Because, you know, the bond is not issued only without giving any money. So the money is, or profit is given on bond is basically its profit on loan. And any profit on loan is riba, is interest. Like T-bills, conventional mortgage, it's also commercial financing transaction with interest. Conventional REITs, usually real estate investment trust has been established, so they are also not allowed. Insurance has the element of riba, maisir and gharar. Three elements it has found. Because usually the amount collected is invested for commercial banks or anything for financing for interest. Secondly, maisir has it has maisir. Maisir means it has like a gharar which where the both parties are not certain that how much they would ultimately get. And maisir is basically said that once parties benefit or profit is dependent on the other party's loss. My grandfather, Hazrat Maulana Mufti Muhammad Shafi rahimahullah, has mentioned one very easy example of maisir. He said that if one party's profit is based upon the other's loss, is maisir. If the both parties have equitable right either to make money or not to make money, like in equity transaction, like in musharaka or mudaraba, it's allowed because they both have the equitable rights. You understand? But for example, if one person's, like in insurance, that if the participant or that the premium giving person got loss of a big thing, then insurance company fell down. Otherwise, if he used to give the money whole year, he will be profit, he'll be making money without incurring any loss. So it is not predetermined things. So it has gharar, it has maisir, it has interest. But its alternative is takaful, and many companies are doing so. So promote participation-based and asset-backed financing, which is the Islamic banking transaction, fulfilling halal needs of customer, ensuring Sharia compliance in all transactions. Further, some distinguishing features, conceptually and socio-religious level, Islamic banks are not money lender only. You know, they are not giving money. Basically, they provide goods and services. Number two, they cannot deal in interest and non-permissible industries or goods. They cannot deal or invest in anything which is not halal. Like they cannot buy pork, they cannot buy liquor or something like that. Decision making has to be ethical and abide moral values. These are some important points. Business model and governing framework. Actively participate in trade and production process. As I mentioned to you, that Islamic bank must have to provide any good or services. So basically, it actively involves or engages itself into the real activity. Government governing framework in terms of Sharia advisor or Sharia supervisory board. You know that the Sharia supervisory board or Sharia advisor should see whether that particular transaction is halal or haram. Product level implementation, usually asset backed and involve trading, renting of asset or participation on profit and loss basis. So as I mentioned, that it is on musharaka basis. It is the ideal transaction. Implementation is not just a matter of change of paperwork and terms, but it involves clarity of roles of contracting parties. As I mentioned to you, that it should not have any element of gharar. It's not just a matter of changing the name. You say that, oh, it's Islamic banking. No. You should know that which kind of contracts you are doing to sign and what are the prerequisites and requirements of these contracts, and you should know that what are rights and obligations created by that contracts. For example, I would say an example to you just to explain you that, for example, a person has hired a lady for 1 week or 1 day or 1 month on money to live with him. Okay? And he did not marry with her. So it's not allowed. It's because it's not nikah. But if you do nikah properly and you comply all its conditions, it is halal. So why? Because it is a permissible contract. And in this underlying contract of nikah, everyone, whether it is husband or wife, they have some rights and obligation on them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed some contracts which have associated with them some rights and obligation. We should know that. So in Islamic banking, the transaction, underlying transaction should not only be halal, and we should basically create rights and obligation to know the people, and we should be aware of them. The transactions are asset-backed in the Islamic banking. It is socially responsible, as I mentioned to you earlier, does not permit financing any prohibited goods like liquor or anything like cinema or any club or something like that. Ethics and moral values play a major role in investing decision, not a choice but a must. For example, it's not that wherever you have the requirement of giving advances, you should give. No, we have to see that whether it is morally, ethically right to give that amount to them or not. While on the other side, on the right side, the commercial banks, these transactions are money, lending and riba based. Involves in many impermissible transactions like short selling, sale of debt, speculative transactions, and they permit financing of prohibited goods and industries like alcohol, casinos, etc. And it's a matter of choice that wherever you have high profit, you should go without thinking that whether it is lawful, ethical or not. But in Islamic banking, it's not like that. So simply you can say that in the commercial bank, here there is a client and there is a bank. So client asks from the bank to give him a money, like for example 100,000 or $100, okay, in commercial bank, and client gives with that $100 another additional amount. That additional amount is interest to the bank. So it is in simple terms money with money. It is transaction with money. So if in any transaction there is a transaction with money and there is an extra amount of money, that extra will be interest. It's so clear by all Islamic jurists. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Secondly, but Islamic banks, what they do? Client comes to Islamic bank for giving them some goods, either through sale, through rent, through ijara, through salam transaction. There are so many modes. Or through services like procurement services like ijaratul ashkhas or something like that. He comes to bank to procure these goods or services, and client gives just a consideration and iwas of those goods and services. This is not interest. This is just consideration of that. This is just compensation of iwas of basically procuring these services or goods. Now, what is the history of inception and today of Islamic banking? In 1980s, different initiatives were taken in Pakistan, Iran, and Sudan. In 80s, Islamic mutual funds and Mudarba companies started to emerge. In 90s, IOFI, Harvard Islamic Finance Forum, Dow Jones Islamic Market Index were established. Key infrastructure institutes were established, including IFSB, which is the Islamic Financial Services Board, IRA, Islamic Rating Agency, CBAFI, and ARCIFE. Inshallah, we will describe further, inshallah, later. And it has been recognized by IMF, World Bank, and the committee, Basel Committee. And the different diploma program, graduate, postgraduate, and doctorate degrees are being offered in Islamic banking by major academic institutions like SEMA, INSEEF, Durban University, IBA, IIIB UK, and several other universities. Cooperative banks in the subcontinent. There was some cooperative banks in Hyderabad, Deccan in 1940s. And then a cooperative bank was established in 1950. And then for pilgrimage fund in Malaysia, it was started in 1950. And saving bank in Mit Ghamr, Egypt, it was started in 1963. Then Nasser Social Bank, Egypt, in 1971. And Dubai Islamic Bank, 1974. Islamic Development Bank, 1974. Darul Mal Islami, Geneva, in 1981. Islamic Bank, Bangladesh, the first interest-free in Southeast Asia, was incorporated in 1983. Around 700 plus Islamic financial institutions are available nowadays. Total size is 1.88 trillion. And estimated size to reach US 3.2 trillion by 2020, inshallah. And 100 million plus customers worldwide using Islamic financial services. 250 plus Sharia compliant mutual funds with the worth of 300 billion funds. $300 billion funds. Over 5,000 international and domestic Islamic sukuk have been issued so far. Global Takaful contribution US 26 billion and expected increase to around 42 billion by 2020. Over 50 plus Sharia and accounting standards for Islamic financial institutions have been issued by IOFI. Establishment of Islamic indices like Dow Jones, FTSE, KMI 30, Mizan, All Islamic Index, etc. Global Islamic Financial Hub like London, they have announced that they will make their places like London, Bahrain, Malaysia to make Global Islamic Finance Hub. But I think that Turkey should have that initiative to be hub of Islamic banking because of various reasons. Even I think that it's better than Pakistan because, mashallah, your economy is quite strong in Turkey. And secondly, here the government and the people also want to make these things halal. So I think it is the best place to do Islamic banking, and it could become a very good role model for the other countries for doing these things. International groups like DMI, Al Baraka, Al Rajahi, Kuwait Finance House, Noor Financial Group, Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank. In Pakistan, we have Mizan Bank, Al Baraka Bank, Dubai Islamic Bank, Bank Islami, MCB Islamic. Many foreign banks like Citibank, ANZ, RBS, Goldman Sachs, Hong Kong, HSBC, Saudi American Bank, Saudi British Bank, UBS AG, they started these Islamic banking transactions. More than 90 countries have Islamic banking institutions, approximately 50 Muslim countries including Kuwait, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Malaysia, Brunei and Pakistan. Approximately 40 plus non-Muslim countries including US, UK, Canada, Switzerland, Sri Lanka, South Africa and Australia are doing. Now new players include Oman, Tanzania, Djibouti, Singapore, Germany, Hong Kong, Russia, Ukraine, etc. This is some figures have been given there that how much percentage of Islamic banking in different countries, and you can get it, inshallah. We will upload these slides into our website, inshallah. So this website is given here, usmaniandco.com, inshallah. We will upload that there. This is the pie chart of, you can see, of the different participation of different countries into Islamic one. Like you can see that Indonesia has the total 1.6 in the total Islamic banking industry. Bangladesh is 1.8, so something like that. Okay. More than 90 countries have Islamic banking institution, approximately 50 countries including, I have completed this. 1970s, I have mentioned that investment bank like International Investment Investor, the first Islamic investment bank. I have already mentioned these 1970s, 80s and 90s things. And different types of banks like Islamic Commercial Bank, Islamic Investment Banks, Islamic Units of Commercial Banks, Islamic Funds, Islamic Housing Finance Scheme, International Financial Market, International Institution of Islamic Banking. So there are so many different types of organizations. IOFI, I have mentioned that this organization is for accounting and auditing organization of Islamic financial institution to make the Sharia standards of accounting as well as auditing as well as Sharia ruling. IFSB is basically made for making the regulation for the central bank as a Basel committee making the different ruling. So now it's being recognized by many central banks. IRA, it is International Islamic Rating Agency, so to rate Islamic rating agency. So IOFI and IFSB I have mentioned to you. Okay, and so long as Pakistan, so I told you that in the 1947 Pakistan resolution was there, in the objectives of resolution it was mentioned about the Islamic economic system, then creation of its Council of Islamic Ideology in 1962, then Pakistan adopted a policy of gradually transformation of banking system in 1979. Then 1980, a 15-member Council of Islamic Ideology prepared a report, which I mentioned today in today's speech. They are very detailed report. And then introduction of Zakat system, then introduction of Ushur system, then introduction of markup-based financial system in 1985. Then in 1991, Federal Shariat Court declared markup procedure un-Islamic. Then in 1991, State Appellate Bench Supreme Court rejected appeal against the previous. Then Mizan Bank established as Pakistan's first Islamic Investment Bank, first Islamic Commercial Bank. Then in 2003, established of Islamic Banking Department in State Bank of Pakistan. Then 2007, adapted accounting standard for Murabaha SBP issues. In 2008, instruction and guidelines for Sharia compliance in Islamic Bank. And 2008, Government of Pakistan issued Ijara-based Sukuk. And 2014, 5 full-fledged Islamic Bank and 18 Islamic banking windows were operating and have over 10% market share. At least I think we are 14% market share of Islamic banks in Pakistan. Legal framework in place, license available for Islamic Bank in Pakistan, Islamic Bank subsidiary for a commercial bank, or standalone Islamic branches of commercial bank, they have been allowed by the government. Legal framework, hybrid of Bahrain and Muslim model, Malaysia model. Our model is basically a hybrid of we have taken some things from Bahrain, something from Malaysia. It's a very comprehensive Sharia governance framework, 5 years strategic plan for IBI by the State Bank of Pakistan. The Sharia board established at the State Bank of Pakistan and in 2002, and Islamic products available to all services offered by commercial bank to fulfill Sharia compliant needs of client. Sharia compliant export refinance scheme, export refinance scheme launched. Model arrangement for products developed by Islamic Banking Department of State Bank of Pakistan. Sharia audit and compliance manuals have been developed. Various training courses and degrees programs and universities were accomplished, and tax laws are being rationalized and to avoid double taxation. Now new laws has come and to avoid double taxation for Islamic banks. Full-fledged Islamic Bank, as I have mentioned these things before, and branch network of Islamic banking is 2,581, and the total asset base is 2 trillion, you can say, 2.2 trillion. And deposit base of Islamic Bank is 1.8 trillion. Share of Islamic Bank in overall banking system stands 12.4%. So this is the growth rate over the Islamic banking. And what are the uniqueness of Islamic banking? Co-mingling between finance and religion and ethics. This is very important thing. You know that if you segregate the ethical thing, religious thing from the trade, then you know that it would not be good. So we have to see the ethics. We should commingle the ethical people and religious people as well. Sharia Supervisory Board as Sharia advisor have been supervising these things. They study the articles of association and bylaws. They approve all the contracts, contribute in designing new products. They audit the actual implementation. They issue fatwas, and they do research and training. The way forward, Islamic banking is a viable alternate, which alhamdulillah, is existing in different parts of the world. Islamic alternates of banking products can be very effectively developed for all types of needs. However, there is a need for proper research and development. Ulama, bankers, and professionals need to be coordinated more frequently for research and training and product development. We have to change our attitude. Islamic banking can't provide each and every financing solution like price bond, acceptance, facilitation to insurance companies. Sharia compliance must be our USP, unique selling point. May Allah give us success in our efforts. Ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Thank you, Dr. Imran Usmani, for this nice speech. And we do hope that Islamic banking does really increase, inshallah, in the future. Now, the stage is free for Sheikh Bilal Khan. I'll leave the stage for Sheikh Bilal Khan to speak about Islamic law of contract, rules of sale, and summary of Islamic modes of finance, inshallah. The floor is yours, man.
How much time do I have?
40 to 45 minutes.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I don't hear response. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. The reason for asking you to respond is twofold. Number one, to see who's awake and who's asleep. Because alhamdulillah, you've had a long day and it's been tiring, I can imagine. And mashallah, you've had eminent speakers, especially our noble scholar, Justice Sheikh Taqi Uthmani and his son, Dr. Imran Usmani. Very deep subjects and a lot of coverage. So they've covered quite a lot of topics. And it's been like a train rattling through all of these stops. So I can appreciate that you will probably be struggling. But and I've been given the graveyard shift. The graveyard shift in English is about the time slot after food, when people tend to kind of snooze and go away. So anyway, you probably can tell from my accent, I'm from UK, from London, born and bred. Third generation in the UK. So my grandfather came to the UK, originally Pakistani, but at the time it was just newly formed Pakistan. So alhamdulillah, that's the history, and I've been involved in Islamic finance for almost 2.5 decades. Don't try to work out my age. I'm sure you can't see the white hair. Alhamdulillah, I had the privilege of studying with Sheikh Taqi Uthmani in Darul Uloom, Karachi in the late 80s and early 90s. And I'm an English qualified lawyer from UK. So I used to work for a firm called Linklaters, one of the top 5 firms. I now presently serve as a judge in the International Arbitration Court, one of 10 British judges that sits on the court bench. 2 retired Chief Justice of the UK, including Lord Wolfe, the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of UK. Anyways, alhamdulillah, I have been working in the UK and abroad, in international markets, on the legal frameworks, on legislation, regulatory frameworks, taxation, the UK double tax duty that was relieved. Alhamdulillah, I played a role in that. I was involved in the first ever Islamic Finance Committee in the UK, Bank of England, and on the Treasury committees as well. So alhamdulillah, there's been a lot of work internationally, and I think it's important that you people sitting here in Turkey, Istanbul, have a complete model in front of you, because Turkey has an amazing opportunity today, alhamdulillah. You've got the Eastern models that Dr. Imran's mentioned, Malaysia, Bahrain, and Pakistan. But as I understand, standing here in Borsa, you've signed a MOU with London, and you look very closely towards London. So I think there could be a model that's developed that is comprehensive in terms of the architecture and the fabric of that. Anyway, suffice to say that I will dive into the slides and rattle through, and some of the slides you will have to forgive me, I will have to skip. As Dr. Imran Usmani mentioned, that these will be uploaded for your benefit, and you have our details, and if anybody has any specific questions for me, you will have my email address, and you can always ask those questions. I'm around today and tomorrow and the day after, and inshallah, hopefully we'll try to help you through that. Three areas. So Islamic law of contract, rules of sale, and the modes of finance. Now, contract is important because Dr. Imran mentioned a very important word, and that word was avoiding niza, dispute. In Islamic commercial law, the golden thread, the rationale, the objective of all of these rules that Quran and Hadith have put in front of us, which the scholars have now derived, the rationale is to avoid dispute. Dispute avoidance. Before it becomes a dispute resolution mechanism, courts and all of that is dispute resolution. We're talking about dispute avoidance. So certainty of contract, which lawyers talk about, whether you're a lawyer in Turkey or anywhere else, is important. And Islam, that's why Dr. Imran mentioned gharar, uncertainty. This actually flies into the face of certainty of contract. There is a fiqhi maxim, legal maxim, ta'asharu kal ikhwan wa ta'amalu kal ajanib. That your social relations with one another, whether they are family ties or any other kind, should be like you are closely knitted, as though you are blood brothers, despite the fact that you're not related. That's how Islam encourages to treat humanity and fellow human beings. But when it comes to mu'amalat, when it comes to financial dealings and transactions, they should be like kal ajanib, like strangers. What do you do with a stranger? You will always make sure everything is documented, everything is witnessed, executed properly. Even if that person is your own brother. Even if that person is your own brother. So this is why we have told this. There is a clear hukum in Quran, longest verse of the whole Quran. In Surah Baqarah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha tadayantum bidaini ila ajalin musamman faktubuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to make sure you document it and write it. This ayah is all about witnessing contracts, documentation of contracts, execution of contracts. You know, English common law, which is the model of all laws, only brought about witnessing and execution of deeds and documents in 1989. Law of Property Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1989, Section 1, Subsection 2, Subsection C. And today, we've had this 1400 years, alhamdulillah. So the beauty of Islam is that it has that flexibility. So inshallah, we can go through that. And the rules of sale, there are some guiding 10 rules. I mean, they could be broken down into many more rules, but I've just said we'll point to 10. And then the modes of finance, which I'm sure you guys are aware of. And Dr. Imran mentioned some of those in his speech. So I might have to skip through them because of the time shortages. Anyway, if I have everybody's attention, we'll be able to get through this. And if we don't have that, I will have to repeat and clarify things. So please, for your own benefit, if you have mobiles, put them away, unless you're taking a picture of the slide, that's something else, but don't, because we've got very short time, and I want to make sure that it's focused. Because everything is about, the art of teaching and speaking is what? Simplification. And this is why the title of today's conference is Demystification. Demystification, simplification is all about moving away from all of this rattle, all of this jargon. We don't want to have that. I want to make it very simple, inshallah. So contract means aqd, right? And it literally means a knot, uqda, knot. You know, even in Surah Falaq, if you read it, Allah says about the tying of the knots, albeit the context is different, but literal, lexical, dictionary meaning is there. Then, obviously, it's there to bind people. This is more closer to the technical meaning, binding one another. In a contract of nikah, a contract of commercial law, you bind one another. You enter into relationships. So that's more closer. The essential elements are contracting parties. This is buyer, seller, vendor, whatever it is, you know, two parties, multi-parties, a issuer, investor, lender, financier, whatever it is, multi-party, all of these are parties. The words of the contract, this is important. That's what's documented. Whether you call it provisions, clauses, elements of the contract, whatever type, they're all, that's the second element. Subject matter of contract, that's the object. What are you trying to achieve? What is the goal of that contract? It doesn't have to be a particular product or a good or a service. It could be sale of a particular kind. So anyway, that has to be clearly looked at. Whatever I've just mentioned so far is there in a diagrammatical fashion. And the reason why we have diagrams and flow charts is so that you can visualize something and optically relate to something. And it's clearly demarcated there, as you can see. So I won't waste too much time. Under each one, there are specific points that are important. Inshallah, I'm going to go through those points in the next few slides. Just spend a few seconds, visualize that, and inshallah we'll go down to the next slide. Right, contracting parties, buyer and seller, financier, whoever it is, have to have two basic requirements. Maturity. An adult can only enter into a contract. A minor cannot.